What's going on, everybody? B. Scott here with you, and on today's show, we got your running back sit starts. Ahead of week 4 of the NFL season, you got some running backs that are really falling off, and then some running backs really picking it up. So we're going to get into every single running back matchup ahead of week 4 for your fantasy team. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first 4 downs. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going over your running back sit starts. Every single matchup, we're going to touch on all the running backs. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff. Comment if you got a running back you want to hear more about or one I didn't mention. Drop it in the comment section. I'll be glad to get back to you and give you my feedback, my advice. And if you have sit start questions, anything like that, feel free, just drop it in the comment section. And then, of course, thank you to all the subscribers. Thanks for all the support. It really makes me feel good knowing that I'm trying to make a difference here in the fantasy community, so thank you. So let's get right to it. Let's start on Thursday Night Football. Jacksonville Jaguars on the road against Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Mixon, you're starting him here, has played pretty well through the first 3 weeks, getting a lot of carries, averaging 18 carries per game. The receiving work, it just hasn't necessarily been there, but it's a smash spot here. Jacksonville giving up fifth most fantasy points to running backs, 5 touchdowns on the ground. So Joe Mixon, an obvious start. Should be a pretty solid day here as a solid RB2 at home. So you're starting Joe Mixon. On the flip side, James Robinson, coming off a great day, to be honest. 88 yards, a touchdown. Looking like they're finally getting him acclimated. You saw the reception work. I want to say 6 receptions, so it's looking good. Bengals, 8 fewest rushing yards on the season, so it could be a tough spot here for James Robinson. I don't know if I can necessarily trust it, considering we haven't seen this production just quite yet on a weekly basis. It's a tough spot here. Cincinnati Bengals defense is actually pretty good, playing a lot better than a lot of people want to give him credit for. So James Robinson, a tough, probably low-end RB2 spot. If you got to get him back into your lineups, I can see that. He played very well last week. So if you're starting James Robinson, I understand. But Mixon should be a smash spot here in a great matchup. Next matchup, we got Tennessee on the road against New York Jets. Derrick Henry, you're starting him regardless of defense. There's not much to even say about it. You're starting him, plain and simple. I think he's going to run a lot in this game. The Jets offense doesn't look great. The defense, the whole team just hasn't really put it together, plain and simple. So Derrick Henry, smash spot here. It's obvious. He's RB1. You're starting him. On the flip side, New York Jets. There's no running back I can trust this week. I like Michael Carter, to be honest, but they haven't really put this offense together at all. His carries haven't been consistent. He is leading the share at this moment, which is good to see, and I think further down the road you might see some better days from Michael Carter, but you're not trusting a running back here considering Ty Johnson is still there, is still garnering some touches. And then obviously Tevin Coleman, we'll see, he dealt with an illness, was out. We'll see if they work him back in or just leave him on the bench altogether. But I can't trust the Jets running back here, not in this matchup. You're starting Derrick Henry. It's obvious, plain and simple. Kansas City Chiefs on the road against Philadelphia Eagles. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a pretty good day, 100 yards on the ground, caught the touchdown, but he did fumble once again. And going into this week against a Philly team that really just got eaten up by Zeke, it was a divisional matchup. I'm not so sure. That run defense looked good through the first couple weeks, so it was a surprise that Zeke did so well. But the Dallas Cowboys really put it on the Eagles, plain and simple, from start to finish in that game. I don't know if I could trust Clyde Edwards-Helaire here. He's not really getting the touches you want to see in the red zone. And the receiving work, obviously, you saw it last week in a negative game script-esque with the Chargers. I don't know on the road against a Philly team that their defense doesn't look great. It should be a pretty good spot here for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But I think he could probably revert back to his old ways of, 60, 70 yards here and no touchdowns. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire is really a risky play for me this week. I don't know if you got to start him. I understand he's coming off a good day, so it makes sense to have him plugged in your lineup here. Philly doesn't scare me on defense, but I'm not so sure if I can trust him this week. On the flip side, Miles Sanders, 2 carries. Philadelphia Eagles, I have no clue what you're doing. If you think you're going to win football games by running your running backs 3 total times in the game, good luck to you. But 2 carries from Miles Sanders still looks good, to be honest. He looks explosive, but they're just not utilizing him enough. Against the Chiefs, you got to start him here. Chiefs, giving up the second most rushing yards to running backs. You got to start Miles Sanders here. It should be a good day. And if the Philadelphia Eagles want to be able to hang with any teams, they should be running the football. And I think it starts with Miles Sanders. So Miles Sanders, I know it's been tough. You've been rolling him out there in plus matchups. He's just not seeing the volume that you hope to see from a guy like that. This was the worry coming from last year, even into this season. What was the workload going to be? And it really wasn't consistent last year. This year, you saw 2 carries last week. So obviously, I like Miles Sanders in this matchup. I think against the Chiefs team that's really struggled against running backs, I got to be firing him up. So Miles Sanders is a start for me. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a fringe start, risky. Carolina Panthers on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. Zeke looked great, looked outstanding last week. 95 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, had a few receptions. You got to be starting him here. At home against a tough Carolina team, I get it. They've given up the fewest fantasy points to running back so far through the first 3 weeks. But, I mean, you got to be starting Zeke. Plain and simple. You draft him as your RB1. He's looked good. He's progressively looked better through the last couple weeks. So you're starting him here. Plain and simple. I think Dallas really gets it done here against a tough Carolina defense. But, yeah, so you're starting Zeke. On the flip side, Chuba Hubbard, you got to start him. Plug and play RB2. Dallas giving up 0 touchdowns to running backs so far this season. But they have been susceptible to the pass catcher running backs. And obviously, I think Chuba, you're going to see, will make his work. He did have 2 or 3 receptions just last week in the short sample size without CMC. So, obviously, you're starting Chuba Hubbard here. You're starting Zeke. Tony Pollard is a fringe flex type guy. I really think you've seen his value on a weekly basis is going to be very inconsistent. J.D. McKissick, Nyheim Hines, this kind of production where you put him in your lineup, you hope for him to have a big week, or he might just do okay. Last week, I mean, still produced 6 fantasy points for you, so that's not horrible, but I don't know if I like Tony Pollard in this matchup. I'll probably be gonna be having to roll out Zeke and Chuba Hubbard. These are the guys I'm starting in this matchup. New York Giants on the road against New Orleans Saints. I'm starting Alvin Kamara, plain and simple. You saw last week, he's effective without even touchdowns. So you're starting Alvin Kamara. You draft him as a top 5 pick, more than likely. You're going to be starting him here against the Giants team. Giving up 10th most fantasy points to running backs, the 2nd most receptions to running backs. So Alvin Kamara, smash spot. On the flip side, Saquon Barkley, I worry. Considering the Saints have still been shutting down running backs on the season, giving up the fewest fantasy points to running backs. And that includes guys like Christian McCaffrey, Damian Harris, and Aaron Jones. These are not schlub running backs. So Saquon Barkley, to me this week, is a potential sit candidate. Now, I know you saw some reception work. I want to say he had 6 receptions on Sunday. So, you hope obviously in PPR that he'll still be able to get that volume and that love. I understand the pass catchers are hurt. Darius Slayton dealing with an injury. Sterling Shepard dealing with an injury. So Saquon, obviously, I think if you're starting him this week, it's going to be on the lower spectrum of the RB2, and you hope he gets a lot of receiving work because I think it's going to be tough for him to get it done on the ground against a tough Saints front. So Saquon Barkley, a low-end RB2 start for me this week. And then obviously Alvin Kamara, smash spot. Cleveland Browns on the road against Minnesota Vikings. Dalvin Cook, you're starting him if he's healthy. If not, it's Alexander Mattison. Plain and simple. It's one or the other. Whoever's healthy, you're going to be rolling him out there. Cleveland, giving up the 4th fewest fantasy points to running backs. Been pretty tough on the ground, but you're not starting one of these running backs. They're elite in an offense where they know how to run the football. So Alexander Mattison, Dalvin Cook, whoever is going to be starting, that's who you're starting at the running back position for the Minnesota Vikings. On the flip side, Cleveland Browns. Nick Chubb's been great. First game, I want to say in 8 games, without a touchdown. You got to be firing him up here. Minnesota giving up 4.8 yards per carry to running back position. Last week, Chris Carson, 12 for 80 and a touchdown. This is a smash spot for Nick Chubb. Plain and simple, you're firing him up every week anyway. He's your RB1. You're going to be firing him. Kareem Hunt. Actually, a lot of people had him as a sit. I had him as a sit last week. Really showed me because he was explosive. Busted off a big run for a touchdown. Made a lot of work in the pass game, albeit Jarvis Landry was out. Once again, Landry's going to be out this week. So Kareem Hunt, you got to be starting him here in a plus matchup. This game could turn into a shootout, 51.5 over-under. I like both these running backs, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, and then obviously on the flip side, Alexander Mattison, Dalvin Cook, whoever's starting, he's in your lineup. Now we look at the Detroit Lions on the road against the Chicago Bears. DeAndre Swift has looked great through the first 3 weeks of the season, albeit he's not getting it done on the ground necessarily, but the receiving work is there. He's averaging 17 touches a game, 6 receptions per game, and then Chicago Bears giving up 105 yards on the ground to running backs per average per week this year. So I like DeAndre Swift in an obvious start. For me, Jamal Williams, maybe if he's a flex guy, I could see it. He's done decently well. He's got 2 touchdowns on the ground so far. So if you got Jamal Williams, you got to start him as a low-end flex play. I understand. And then obviously DeAndre Swift, must start RB2. Plain and simple, set it and forget it. Flip side, David Montgomery in a good spot here. And I really think if the offense runs through him this week, they're going to be able to open that up, whether it be Justin Fields or Nick Foles under center, or if Andy Dalton comes back. I think David Montgomery, they got to get back to pounding the rock. Plain and simple, the Detroit Lions giving up 4th most fantasy points to running backs, giving up 6 total touchdowns to the running backs, which is most in the league. So David Montgomery, a huge week for me. This is my start of the week at the running back position. I really think he's going to have a top 5 week. Should play very well. And David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, must starts this week. Houston on the road against Buffalo. There's not a running back I love in this matchup. Houston side of the ball, there's no one you can trust, plain and simple. And they're going against a tough Buffalo team. Buffalo's favored by 17 points, so I'm staying away from the Houston running backs altogether. Obviously, one of them will probably find the end zone, but good luck taking a dart throw on one of those guys. On the Buffalo side, at first, Devin Singletary looked great through the first 2 weeks. Zach Moss, his share is starting to uptick, more snaps. I like Zach Moss as a possible flex guy, sneaky play here, considering I think there's going to be a lot of positive game script. They're going to be ahead a lot. And Zach Moss, they like to use him in the red zone, plain and simple. Josh Allen, he catches a touchdown from Josh Allen. He runs, the touchdowns in on the goal line. So I like Zach Moss this week, potentially as a sneaky low-end RB2, possible flex guy in negative game script. And Singletary, you can't really trust him considering now he's losing his production to Zach Moss. Now we got the Colts on the road against the Miami Dolphins. You're starting Jonathan Taylor. You're starting him every week. You're just living and dying by it. I get it. Nyheim Hines' snaps are upticking, but that was a negative game script. He did get the one touch in the red zone, which hurts, got the touchdown. But I'll tell you right now, Jonathan Taylor, this is a smash spot for him. I think he can have a pretty good day here. Peyton Barber, 111 yards and a touchdown against these Miami Dolphins. Now, yes, Miami is at home, so it's a little tougher spot here, but I think Jonathan Taylor, this is his get-right day. This week, I think he can have 100 yards and a touchdown. So Jonathan Taylor, smash spot. Nyheim Hines, he's honestly a boomer bust flex. Week in and week out, plain and simple. He's going to do very good, or he's going to get you nothing. Him, J.D. McKissick, even Tony Pollard, these guys, where these are mix and match guys where they're going to have great weeks, and then they're going to have weeks where they're just going to disappoint. I mean, and it's going to be hard to pick which week it's going to be. And I think this game's going to have a lot of neutral game script. I don't think Miami's going to be able to get out and get ahead. I think the Colts with Carson Wentz, I mean, who knows what that team is doing right now? Carson Wentz is really struggling, the offensive line. So who knows? But I'll tell you right now, I like Jonathan Taylor in the matchup. Myles Gaskin on the flip side. He's getting the opportunities, the best opportunities he possibly can. And obviously, Salvon Ahmed, no carries last week. That's good. That means they're finally going maybe to a 1-2 punch with Malcolm Brown. I get it. Malcolm Brown busted off the touchdown, but I still like Gaskin here as possible low-end RB2. I think it's going to be a lot of neutral to positive game script here at home. So I think Myles Gaskin could have an okay day here as a low-end RB2. Washington football team on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. Mike Davis. If you need 10 points in your running back spot, you start Mike Davis. Even though he's not getting it done on the ground, he has 0 touchdowns on the year. He's still making enough work in the receiving game to be viable. He's a low-end RB2, flex-type guy. He'll get you 10 points, and PPR is at 10 points all 3 weeks. So Mike Davis is a start here, even against a tough Washington front, allowing only 3.8 yards per carry. I still like Mike Davis as a low-end guy. Now, Cordarrelle Patterson, this is a guy you got to be starting at this point. The receiving work is there. Plain and simple. He's outproducing Mike Davis now 2 weeks in a row. So, obviously, I like Cordarrelle Patterson in this matchup, albeit Washington football team has been good against pass catchers, only allowed 8 receptions for 47 total yards and a touchdown. But I think, Cordarrelle Patterson's running a lot of routes, being pushed outside, and with Russell Gage being out of the lineup, I think that's why you're seeing a lot more of Cordarrelle Patterson in the passing game. So Cordarrelle Patterson for me is a start. Obviously, Mike Davis is a low-end guy. If you need 10 points, he's a guy you could be starting. And then on the flip side, you got Antonio Gibson. Plain and simple, you're starting him. He hasn't really got it done on the ground. 0 touchdowns rushing, but he had the big play, 73-yard touchdown last week, saved his day. And going against an Atlanta defense that just isn't that good. Still pretty decent against running backs, but not great. So I like Gibson in this matchup. And then J.D. McKissick, if you want to take dart throws, I get it on a weekly basis. But I think this game is going to be a lot of neutral game script, possibly even positive game script for the Washington football team. So I like Gibson. Risky play for me with McKissick and Mike Davis, Cordarrelle Patterson, their starts. Seattle Seahawks on the road against San Francisco 49ers. Chris Carson, you got to start him here. Now, yes, he might be dealing with a hamstring injury, so we got to pay attention to that through the week. But smash spot here, San Francisco 49ers, 12 for 80 and a touchdown. That's what he's coming off of last week. And the 49ers defense has looked okay, don't get me wrong, but Carson has really got it done through the first 3 weeks. Been a rock solid low-end RB1, high-end RB2, plain and simple. And it's not a great spot for him, but hopefully you can see some receiving work. That's what we hope to see with Carson. Only 5 receptions on the season so far. So maybe you see that uptick here. Maybe you see less carries, but I think Carson, you're starting him every week. It's a good spot for him. So on the flip side, Elijah Mitchell, if he's healthy, I like him. Sermon didn't really impress. 30 yards and a touchdown last week. Seattle giving up the most fantasy points to the running back position and also the most receiving yards to running backs. So I like any running back for the 49ers this week. Honestly, Kyle Juszczyk, if you got to start him, he's sneaky play. To be honest, last week he saw a lot of receiving work in on third downs. He got the touchdown at the end of the game. Now, yes, it's not somebody I love here, but Seattle, man, they've been bad to running backs, plain and simple on the season. So I'm firing up any running back I can against Seattle this week. Tough divisional matchup. Elijah Mitchell, if he's healthy, if you have to, Trey Sermon and Juszczyk. Honestly, sneaky flex. Arizona on the road against the Los Angeles Rams. I like Darrell Henderson or Sony Michel, either one, whichever one's healthy. I want to be starting him. Now, yes, you got to worry about Henderson. Let's watch the practice through the week and see if he's up to par and up to speed. Because if he's limited in this game, you could see a split. And even in a split, I don't know if I love Henderson. And plus, dealing with ribs, one hit could really take you out of the game. That could cost you. But if Henderson's healthy, I'm starting Darrell Henderson here. If he's ruled out once again, Sony Michel, absolute smash start. Arizona giving up 5 yards per carry to the running back position. James Robinson, you saw last week, 15 for 88 and a touchdown. So Sony Michel or Darrell Henderson, I'll take either one. On the flip side, Arizona, I don't like a running back here, Chase Edmonds. He's actually struggled in his career against this Los Angeles Rams defense. Los Angeles Rams defense has been very, very good to against running backs on the season, so I don't like Chase Edmonds in this matchup. And James Conner, I just don't think he's very touchdown dependent, plain and simple. So I don't like these guys in this matchup. If you have other options, I would look elsewhere. Pittsburgh Steelers on the road against Green Bay Packers. This one's pretty simple. You're starting Najee Harris, plain and simple. You saw it last week. 19 targets, 14 receptions, 100 yards receiving. He hasn't been able to get it done on the ground. But with the pure volume, especially in the pass game, you're starting him on a weekly basis. Full PPR, he's crushing it for you. That's great. But he's not, for the Pittsburgh Steelers fans, he hasn't looked up to par. But still, you're starting him in fantasy. It's obvious just based on volume. On the flip side, Aaron Jones, once again, you drafted him as your RB1. You're going to be firing him up here. Pittsburgh defense hasn't looked scary, especially in recent memory, considering TJ Watt possibly out of this game. The defense is already a little banged up. So Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, must starts. It's obvious. Now on to the Baltimore Ravens on the road against the Denver Broncos. Melvin Gordon, the one running back I actually can trust a little bit in this offense. Now, yes, he hasn't looked great, to be honest. Javonte Williams has played okay, but Javonte Williams fumbled on the goal line at the end of that game. I wonder if that's going to cost them some goal line looks. And going against the Baltimore Ravens team that's honestly given up only 3 yards per carry to running backs, which is good, but they've also given up 5 rushing touchdowns, all short yardage. So Melvin Gordon's the guy I like in the short yardage period. I'm going to roll with him this week as a possible guy to get another touchdown. I think they're going to have to move the ball a little bit against this Ravens team through the air. And then obviously Melvin Gordon in the red zone. That's who I like. On the flip side, I can't trust the Baltimore running back, which is crazy to say coming into the season where I get it, all of them got hurt. But there's not one that you can trust in a matchup against a good Denver defense, plain and simple. So Tyson Williams coming off an abysmal game, 5 carries. Then you got Latavius Murray with 7 carries. Devontae Freeman, 4 carries. So I can't trust a running back in this matchup until we see a solidified guy that moving forward. And it's a tough spot on the road, tough matchup. So I don't like a running back for Baltimore this week. And then Denver, I like Melvin Gordon. That's about it. I'm sitting Javonte Williams. Tampa Bay on the road against New England Patriots. Running backs, Leonard Fournette. So one guy I actually like, considering Gio Bernard dealing with the slight MCL sprain. If he misses the game, Leonard Fournette's going to be the pass-catching back. And that's what I want in the offense, plain and simple, because they haven't been able to get that run game going. Ronald Jones, you see it, his snap counts just completely in the dirt. So Leonard Fournette, a sneaky option here as a low-end RB2 on the road against a tough New England defense. On the flip side, Damian Harris, I love him, but not this week. Not against the Tampa front that's still being good, still been good on the season, plain and simple. So I'm not starting Damian Harris here. I don't like the fact that he's not getting carries in the red zone, and the receiving work, you see it just hasn't really been there. The week 1 was exciting. In the last couple weeks, 1 target, 2 targets, it's just not that exciting for me. So Damian Harris, he's a sit for me this week. Once again, I sat him last week. And then pass catchers, James White, he's hurt, plain and simple. Is it going to be Brandon Bolden? Is Ramondre Stevenson, is he going to be active for this game? I don't know, and I can't trust any of those pass-catching backs. Brandon Bolden, maybe if you want to take a real deep dart throw, but that's it. I'm sitting the running backs on the New England side, and then obviously Fournette, a sneaky low-end RB2 option this week. Now lastly, we got the Las Vegas Raiders on the road against the Los Angeles Chargers. Austin Eckler starting them. He's been great. He's looking great. Lots of receptions, 15 through the last 2 weeks, without a reception in week 1. So you're starting Austin Eckler on a weekly basis, no matter the matchup. It doesn't matter. On the flip side, Josh Jacobs, is he healthy? I hope he is. This is the spot. This is a smash spot. Honestly, Los Angeles Chargers giving up the most rushing yards on the ground. You saw last week even to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 100 yards rushing. So I like Josh Jacobs in the matchup if he's able to give it a go. And if not, honestly, I'll probably roll with Peyton Barber as a possible stream option this week. He's getting the early down work. He didn't look necessarily great, but he got it done 100 yards, over 100 yards against Miami, got the touchdown. And Drake just hasn't seen enough work for me to be comfortable starting him, considering Peyton Barber's getting a lot more carries. So Peyton Barber, a possible stream option if Josh Jacobs is to miss. Kenyon Drake, a low-end guy, low-end flex if you want to get him in your lineups. I understand. But anyway, that's all the running backs from every single matchup. Any of your start sit questions that you have, all that good stuff. It's right here. And if you have any more questions, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to get back to you. And once again, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all the good stuff. So once again, for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.